I just watched Evil Dead Army of Darkness last night, and it made me remember just how much AQ3D pays tribute to that movie. For those of you who are long-term players of AE games, you probably already know Artix is a huge fan of Bruce Campbell and the Evil Dead series. Last night when I was watching the movie with one of my friends, I realized just how much AQ3D pays tribute to that movie and the other movies in that series. And there are a lot of nods to that series in the AE games as well, besides AQ3D. But let me showcase these tributes to the Evil Dead series in this video. Let's get started. In the main menu, in the Adventures menu, in the Side Stories, scroll down till you find Cabin in the Globe. Just this image right here obviously pays tribute to the Evil Dead series. Once in the shop, head right to the Odd Snow Globe and you can enter the globe. This cabin might look familiar to some of you who have seen the movies. And right in front is a big tribute to Ash. So you've got Slash Ketchum. And in here you've got the pet shop, lots of different references. Of course, the Dreadite skull, which is for obviously the Deadite stuff. And there's lots of Dreadite related things. Of course, you've got Dreadite Wrangler and other nods to it from this. Then in here you have the armor, the Ash armor. Not quite the same colors because he wears a blue shirt and stuff, but you've got the different stuff. This is really neat because this is the holster for the gun. I think it would have been cooler to actually have a gun in the holster, not just the holster. Maybe that's something they can add for this upcoming Friday the 13th. You've got the Dreadite Slasher Chainsaw. Now this is one you hold, whereas in the movie it's actually his hand, not one you hold, but they did come up with something a little bit closer than that, which is the dual? I think it's the dual saws. Yes, where it does kind of look like it's your hand, but it's not because it's still attached. But it's a better version of it. Why there's two, I'm not exactly sure. There should have been just one, or having the option to have two or one. Maybe that's another thing they could add. But yeah, there's the noise maker, which is not quite the boom stick that we know of, but I will show you another one. So yeah, lots of different nods just there alone, of course, with the cabin itself. And this is a dungeon, by the way. Cabin in the Globe. You can get a Dreadite skull and a bunch of other stuff. This is my broomstick, which is a nod to the saying, "This is my boomstick," which was said in the Army of Darkness, which was a double barrel Remington. That is this thing, which I think is really cool that they put that nod into the game. Of course, another nod is Campbell. This is obviously a nod to Bruce Campbell, and yeah, I think that is really cool. Would love to see more of a storyline with this character in AQ3D because he's really underused. He does have a quest called the Darkest Night, which is a pretty nice sword you get. One of the original swords, actually. It's one of the very first swords created for the game, and you'd need to have the 3 previous ones, nod to Batman. There's another item we got in the 2018 Mogloween collection, and it was called the Pumpkin Carver Hand, which is an animated chainsaw on your arm, but it is not the same looking chainsaw as the one in the Evil Dead series. Another nod to the Evil Dead series is in the Isle of the Dead, the Necronomicon, and this is in the movies. I think it is really neat having a tribute to the Necronomicon, the Book of the Dead. It looks really nice too. I love the look of this. Looks creepy, covered in human flesh. So, yeah, that is just some of the nods to the Army of Darkness, well, to the Evil Dead series, which I think is really neat. But that's not all. Let's listen to what Artix said. I was at the hospital when I received news that Bruce Campbell was officially retiring his legendary character Ash from the Evil Dead series. My son, who was 3 at the time, was born that day. As you may know, the Evil Dead and Army of Darkness movies are very special to Warlick and me. I could say our brother-like friendship was truly forged the day we saw Evil Dead 2. Laughing so hard we literally ended up rolling around on the floor. Back then there was nothing like it. We were not sure if it was initially supposed to be funny or not. I've seen that movie in the ballpark of 90 times. Watching the movie was a rite of passage for every new friend we made and every girlfriend we had. I will never forget the fleet of cars we had leaving my house for the opening night of Army of Darkness, technically Evil Dead 3. Even though we had already seen a bootleg copy of it with a vastly superior, ends up in the post-apocalyptic future, ending a dozen times prior, the undead invasion from Army of Darkness was one of the most personally inspiring things to me. It is deeply tied into how and why I started making games. From the first event in the first Adventure Quest to our first live event to the intro of AQ3D. You can see its lasting impressions. Let me just pause right there for a second. The intro he's referring to is the original intro, which is still my favorite. It did have the Army of Darkness fighting against Guardians in the background. It was really cool. I still really like the intro map. I really wish they would bring that back as a nod to nostalgic AQ3D. Both in the I love battling hordes of skeletons to the cheesy, campy, humor-laced comedy that gave it such a unique style. And of course, you guys probably see that style of cheesy, campy humor that is laced throughout AE content as well, so it really did impact Artix and all of his games. As a super fan who owns dice made from the remains of the Evil Dead 2 cabin, that's awesome. It was both touching and sad to see Bruce Campbell retire the role. I'm very grateful to him for returning to his role one last time in the Ash in the Evil Dead TV series. He was brilliant, and his send-off in the final episode was perfect. As I watched the finale with a tear in my eye and baby Kai in my arms, therapy bills expected, it is obvious what I need to do. Get this little guy a chainsaw arm and boomstick. Groovy on. And that is where I'm going to leave this one. I'd like to know if you guys discovered any nods to the Evil Dead series besides the ones I've already mentioned. If so, post them in the comments below. For the set of the day, I'm going to go with a few different ones. This is the first one, very Legion-related, creepy, but I like it. This is a good one. Beautiful combination with the colors. Also love that it matches the hair. That's great. Wow, now there's a Breaking Bad tribute. This is the last one. The color schemes of this are nice. I like both of these sets. They look great. And that is it for the sets of the day. If you guys enjoyed this one, do me a favor and tap that like button, smash subscribe, and hit the notification if you want to stay up to date with all of my content. Thanks for watching, and keep those swords swinging.